Hello and welcome back. It's not even a post-game reaction because I'm probably not going to watch the game tomorrow. It's another state of the program conversation. Tomorrow night, FSU plays Wake Forest. Wake Forest is 5-2, but Wake Forest isn't any good. But we're terrible. We've lost our last 9 ACC games. We've only won 5 of our last 20 games overall. In our last 17 games against teams that aren't like Northeast Directional University, we're 2-15. So why I would never root for FSU to lose, or at least actively root while I'm watching the game. I won't be mad if Wake wins. Whatever expedites Mike getting the fuck out of Dodge. We all understand the buyout. It's large. But we also understand and know that it's not a lump sum payment. It would be paid over the next 5-6 years. About $10 million per. Maybe they can negotiate it down. But it needs to happen sooner than later. It's not so much I'm worried about, FSU's going to miss out on an opportunity to hire a coach, because most of the viable candidates won't be available till after the season anyways. So you would hope that Alford, in spite of his bumbling, stumbling statement about supporting Mike the rest of the season, you would hope he and the rest of the administration is doing their, back channeling and trying to find out who they could get. At this point, I really don't care who it is for the most part. I just don't care. It's likely not going to be a big name. And let's be real. How many elite coaches are in the market? There's a lot of good coaches that are available or that could be available. Kiffin, Franklin, let's see. Maybe Brent Key. Rhett Lashley just got an extension from SMU, so he's off the board. What's his name? Schumann from Tulane. Is that his name? I'm Brian Hartline, coordinator from Ohio State. I'm probably forgetting some names. But for me, the guy I want, who many people will think is boring because he doesn't win big games, and based on his record, he doesn't, is James Franklin. FSU is about 3 years away. Well, college football world is about 3 years away from realignment talks. And so it would behoove Florida State to get themselves on stable ground starting next year, to put themselves in a position to be sought after by the Big Ten or the SEC when this whole realignment shit happens in, I think, 2028. The reason I like James Franklin is the reason a lot of people like James Franklin, in spite of not winning the big game. And let's be real, most of those big games, the majority of those big games that make up his horrible record against top 25 opponents, is Ohio State and Michigan. Now, Ohio State, for the most part, most teams stink against them. Michigan, maybe a little less so, but still. We can't, as an FSU, can't even win an ACC game. I'm not even worried about the big game yet. Can we win a fucking ACC game? As I just referenced, we're 0 for the last 9. Franklin would immediately bring stability because he knows how to evaluate talent. He has a winning track record. If all he does is go 10-2 every year, I would love for that to be our complaint. As FSU fans, I would love it if a year or two from now we're saying, damn it, I'm tired of winning 10 games every year. We need to win the whole thing. Just think of where we are the last decade. If this current season goes the way it's probably going to go, and that this team's going to give up on Mike again and have another losing season, that'll be like the 5th losing season in the last 9 seasons. It's been bad. Jimbo's last year, obviously he dipped out. They finished 7-6. Willie had 2 losing seasons in 2018, 2019. Mike had 2 losing seasons, excuse me, in 2020 and 2021. 2022, yay, Mike won 10 games. 2023, went undefeated, got snubbed, then lost to Georgia in an exhibition game where everyone of note did not play for FSU. And then, of course, last year he went 2-10. Excuse me. This year, 3-4. I would honestly be surprised if FSU made a bowl game. So, give me Franklin and his ability to evaluate talent. And for Penn State standards, he's recruited pretty well. He was there for, I think, 12 seasons. His average recruiting class was like 15th, which for Penn State, that's pretty darn good. Because if you look at the previous 10 years prior to Franklin's arrival at Penn State's average recruiting class was like in the 30s, right? And most importantly, Franklin can evaluate and recruit the line of scrimmage, which is kind of a big deal because Mike's done the opposite of that and has failed miserably at recruiting the line of scrimmage. And of course, Franklin's available right now. So, although Mike should have already been fired after the Stanford debacle, because Stanford's awful, maybe the Wake Forest loss, if it happens, pushes the admin over the edge to where, like, all right, we can't continue with the charade anymore. Like, I know we said we'll support Mike the rest of the season. We'll assess at the end of the year, which, by the way, what a dumb statement. Like, in his statement, he said, Alfred said, we're going to assess the state of the program, which isn't assessing Mike, actually, but we'll support Mike through the end of the season. So you could, if you want to, play semantics, say, well, he didn't really say he'd reassess Mike. He's reassessing the program. So maybe they are working something in the background while they figure out how they can get enough money to afford Mike's large buyout. And I don't think it's a matter of do they have the money. It's a matter of do these big donors, do these wealthy fucks want to spend the money again? Because they've already spent a lot of money on the football-only facility, Doak renovations, the NIL last year, the new coordinators they brought in, they spent a lot of money. So you're asking those same people that forked over a ton last year or in the previous couple of years to fork over even more, to pay for his buyout, pay for a new coaching staff. But maybe there's a chance you can get Franklin on maybe like a discount. He's already getting paid by Penn State, like quite a bit of money. Maybe you don't have to give him 10, 11, 12 million a year. Maybe you can get away with 8 million because he's already banking from Penn State. And maybe it's just his agent, Jimmy Sexton, putting this out there, but Zach Blostein or whatever he pronounced his fucking name from 24/7 did say that Franklin is definitely interested in the FSU job if it's available. So for me, yeah, if you can make the move, please make it sooner than later. Signing day is like the first week of December. What are you going to do? Wait till after the Florida game, which is the last week of November, and then be like, all right, here, we're going to go get a new coach. Okay, you have like a week to get a class or save this class. Good luck. I don't know how much longer you can put it off in spite of the statement. Saying they reassess at the end of the year. Look, Alfred's done quite a bit of good for the university. Link Jarrett hire was good. The soccer hire was good. The basketball hire, Luke Lokes, at least for now, appears to be good because he has a really high class. But obviously, football pays the bills. And if you fuck that up, then almost none of the other good things you did matter. And maybe Alfred won't be here in the long run. I don't know. But You could do a lot worse than Franklin. Again, if all he does is go 10-2 at FSU, I'll take it all day long. Like, what are we talking about? Like, in the last, let's see, since 2017, which is Jimbo's last year, we've had 2 10-win seasons. That's it. And guess what 10-2 gets you? It probably gets you in the playoff. And guess what 10-2 also gets you? Probably gets you, at least if you're at Florida State, good enough classes to maybe the talent can overcome Franklin's conservative in-game management that, allegedly has cost him some games. Like, sign me up for that stability that Franklin would bring, like, all day long. Well, I'm starting to run out here. But in truth, I would almost take anyone at this point. I don't think Mike will be the coach in 2026, but the possibility exists that he could be. It does exist because of the buyout, because there's not a coach that's a guaranteed, there's not a Saban out there. There's not, Dan Lanning's not going anywhere. Kirby's not going. None of those guys are out there. And given the new landscape of college football with the NIL and how it's more important to allocate money towards players, maybe it's not a good idea to allocate $12 million a year to your coach. Like, before NIL, hiring the right coach or hiring a big name made more sense because that big name would attract recruits based on his track record and his ability to build relationships, etc. But nowadays, the number one priority for most recruits is the NIL deals they'll get. You still have to have a relationship, right? You still have to have the ability to connect to kids, but it's now less important because of NIL. So it makes less sense to just break the bank for a coach and then have less money for your roster. Never mind, I think at the very least, Franklin would know how to allocate that money. Yeah, let's allocate it towards the line of scrimmage. God forbid. So we'll see. Tomorrow night, again, play Wake. For some reason, we're like a 10-point favorite. Don't know why. Wake's not good, but, what are we talking about here? We've lost 9 consecutive ACC games. Castellanos is probable to play, but is his ankle ready to go 100%? Is he his, normal mobile self? Doubtful. So if he's not, I don't know what, you shouldn't expect much from the offense if he can't run. They just put up a whopping 13 points against Stanford. So I guess we'll just continue to wait and see how it unfolds. But you got all these Virginia Tech rumors, and let's be real, a lot of these rumors are initiated by agents like Sexton. But if push comes to shove, if Norvell's out and Franklin's choice is Virginia Tech or FSU, he's coming to FSU. Comment which coach you'd prefer, but again, I would pick Franklin because of the stability he would automatically bring. His floor is pretty high. His ceiling, yes, questionable, because can he win the big game? But let's go into that. A big game for him would be facing Mario Cristobal, who isn't exactly a genius. Great recruiter, but it's not fucking Ryan Day or Harbaugh at Michigan. Dabo, who's, clearly looks like he's on the downside of his career. Florida, who's about to get a new coach. Who knows who it's going to be? So, the big games Franklin would have in the ACC, he's not going up against Nick Saban. So I'll take my chances. And again, dead horse. I would love to fast forward a couple years from now with Franklin and bitch because, damn it, we can't get over the hump. We keep going 10-2, but we haven't won a title. If that's the complaint FSU fans have under Franklin, give me that. Like, I would kill for that because this program is so fucked. It's as down as it's ever been in my lifetime. It's not even close. There's no, like, the lost decade, like 2001 to 2009, Bowden's last years, they call it the lost decade. He was still winning 8-9 games. But the last decade, as I referenced, just got awful. Losing season after losing season. It's a joke. So, anywho, I'll wrap it up here. I think I've made my point abundantly clear. Obviously, it's beyond time for Mike to go. Go ahead and make it happen. If it takes a Wake loss to expedite the decision, then I don't want to say go Deeks, but, I'm not going to cry if Wake Forest wins. Because as much as Alfred said we'll assess at the end of the season, you get your 10th consecutive ACC loss. You get your 5th consecutive loss this year. The pressure is going to be ratcheted up. And as Mike Tyson once said, everyone has a plan to get punched in the mouth. Mike Tyson isn't Socrates or Pluto, but he's not wrong. Everyone has a plan to get punched in the fucking mouth. So, we'll see. If it happens, I'll be back on here, If it's a Wake loss and then Sunday we wake up to the news of Mike getting fired, then so be it. It's time to move on. Like right now, as an FSU fan, you feel like you're in purgatory. You feel like you're beating a dead horse, talking about how Mike should be gone. But since he's not, it's like, what are we doing here? Like, give the fans some hope. Like, the season tickets have already been sold. Now, many of those people won't show up tomorrow. But, like, you're already seeing, like, on the secondary market, FSU tickets for tomorrow going for, like, $6. That's a preview of what would happen if you kept Mike into next year. Good luck selling season tickets for 2026 season. Like, it's just... it's not ideal. It makes a lot more sense. You might as well find a way to pony up now to get rid of him and to get a new staff than to play out the string for one more season. Like, my God. Because, again, you're kind of up against the clock. That realignment's only, like, 3 years away. You got to not look like a bunch of slapdicks so you can make sure you're ready to go to another conference. You had the ACC lawsuit get settled. The amount to pay to get out is much lower now. I think it's like $100 million. Remember, a few years ago, before the lawsuit, it was like $400 million. Or it was something astronomical. Now it's more feasible, but if you look like shit, like you're less attractive to a conference like the Big Ten and SEC. So, anyway, that's it. That's all. The Noles win, fantastic. That shouldn't change anyone's opinion. Mike still needs to go. But if the Noles lose to Wake, maybe we get some good news Sunday morning. All right, till next time, I'm out.